So apparently Marvel Rivals is bad. All 500,000 people that log in every day are not enjoying the game. Probably something Concord wished happened to them. I mean, Marvel Rivals has been out for like a month now, and I only played it for a bit. Got a few achievements here and there, but the game journalist, once again, mad that everyone is having fun. Look, I hate Marvel, okay? I think a lot of the movies are mid, with only a few of them being good. I don't really watch movies in general. I've probably only watched 3 movies in the past 2 years, and I just don't like superheroes in general. And so you would think, based off of all of that, I theoretically should not like Marvel Rivals. But every time I start playing, it's hard to call a last game and actually make it a last game. It's just so good. Unfortunately, the gamer released another article. And more unfortunately, they poorly represent the game because I guess it's just tuner content or whatever they want to label this as. Alright, let's start skimming through this article that the gamer has made. Marvel Rivals has too many characters for its own good. Alright, right from the title, I won't lie, I thought the same thing when I first started. It was very daunting seeing all these characters and their interactions with other characters, and it's really hard to pin down what a character does. For example, Star-Lord plays like Tracer, has an ult like Soldier 76, is able to self-res if Adam Warlock is on the team, and as well has like a mini Reaper ult as an ability on like a 10-second cooldown. Especially if I compare this to someone like any of the base DPS characters from Overwatch, yeah, I would say there's more nuances and complexity in the Marvel characters. But I mean, hey, you're a Marvel superhero. Star-Lord is part of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they stopped Thanos. So it's understandable for them to be a bit complex. And like I said, at first, I did think there was too many characters as a base roster. But then I thought about it more. As a business, my game's main competitors Overwatch, and with how many of these Overwatch killers have failed, like Battleborn, Paladins, Concord, and probably a few others that everyone forgot, you have to come out of the gate swinging. And what better way than having a huge roster of Marvel characters? Alright, moving on. They start off with, Marvel Rivals arrived with one hell of an impact, but as the dust clears, some of its obvious flaws are now plain to see. The lack of a role queue is one major omission, and is already making effective team play an impossibility when playing with strangers. First of all, role queue is a terrible idea. Role queue was a band-aid to the problem, not a solution. The devs didn't want to spend the time to properly fix the problems. I'm not an Overwatch expert, but from what I understand, the pro scene had a dominant GOAT comp, 3 healers, 3 tanks, and it was not enjoyable to watch because nothing happened. In the casual scene, everyone would play DPS and not play tank or healer. Now, I can think of better potential solutions, but this is not an Overwatch video. Role queue was bad. Marvel Rivals thankfully doesn't have it. Now, I understand their concerns about not having tanks or healers, but that's a problem I only see in quick play. Why? Because people are just there to have fun and not take things serious. No one is actually trying to win. I played comp a lot. I almost made it to Diamond in this short season, and there has been only a handful of times where I thought our team composition was bad. When we needed another healer, someone was willing to go healing. If I felt like we needed another tank, I would just go change into tank and help out my solo tank, because all of our goals were aligned in trying to win. Now maybe I got lucky with my many hours of playing, but that was the trend I was seeing. Marvel Rivals as an open queue is perfect, especially with all the different team-up combos and just synergies in general. If you're restricted to a 2-2-2, then it would be a lot harder and less fun and less fulfilling trying to activate these team-ups, because some of these team-ups are insane. For example, Jeff or Rocket could jump on Groot's shoulder and just sit there giving damage reduction. Or a team up of Thor and Hela, where when Thor dies, he could get resurrected on the spot when Hela lands the killing blow. There's so many where I feel like you would lose that experimentation if you limit it to a 2-2-2 role lock. Moving on. This is a problem in Overwatch 2, but role queue has made it easier to form teams you know have a decent chance of winning if you work together. I would argue that you would have more arguments within teams when doing a role lock in Overwatch. I remember I would constantly get angry at my own tank for doing a terrible job, and in turn, they get angry and start throwing. And I have a philosophy, if you want the job done right, do it yourself. But you can't really do that with a role lock, unfortunately. But in Marvel Rivals, that is the only way to play, so it's impossible not to criticize. Right now, I spend games playing support out of obligation, preventing me from trying out other heroes. I mean, I would recommend playing with a friend who's good at being a healer. Recruit me if you have to. I have an average of 20k heals per 10 minutes on Luna, and I'm sure there's a lot better Lunas than me. This is a team game after all. Marvel Rivals should have taken more time with its roster. NetEase has created a hero shooter using one of the biggest licenses in the world in a free-to-play format where people will want to jump in and play as some of their favorite heroes without restriction. They don't care about playing them well or trying to learn what their abilities do or the role they fulfill. The goal is to look and feel as cool as you can in the shortest amount of time possible. A power fantasy that sadly isn't possible in a game that demands mechanical knowledge like this one. So just because the character's a bit more complex doesn't mean they're not cool. Spider-Man, I would say, is a complex character, and so when you see a good Spider-Man, you give them respect. And when you yourself understand how to play Spider-Man, you feel great about yourself. There's a saying that goes something like, if everyone is a superhero, then no one is a superhero. So if I compare this to like, if anyone could pick up and play Spider-Man, then what makes Spider-Man impressive? Now, I don't want to be like a gatekeeper. I'm just saying that there is a learning curve, and that is not a bad thing. Moving on. You can pull that off in a single-player experience like Spider-Man or Batman Arkham Asylum, but in those games, there is no expectation to perform alongside a team. The only thing you're competing for is your own gratification. Marvel Rivals is different, and it makes a game that looks this incredible feel so good to play have a skill ceiling that ruins much of its power fantasy from the outset. Those who play it for the aesthetic, only to realize what will be required of them, will walk away immediately. Well, a lot of people still kept playing, but anyways, I think a lot of games have a skill ceiling, even if it wasn't the intention, because especially in this day and age, people want to be good. And when you have people wanting to make content, be streamers, go pro, people will min-max whatever they can for views and fame or whatever. Just think about Fortnite. It was pretty fun and casual until you had build fights. This was definitely not intended, but it happened, and now you have every 9-year-old kid wanting to be as good as Clix or Bruga or whoever is the best nowadays. It's the same thing with IRL sports, but Marvel Rivals is still fun to play, whether it's for a couple of games or for several hours, and I think that's more important to casual gamers. Moving on. Its bombastic launch gives me doubts about its future. In the lead up to its full launch, more additions were confirmed for the roster, making it hard to determine who I'd main and if I would even have enough time to learn all of their ins and outs before release. Turns out that I didn't, and now the sheer act of playing Marvel Rivals is daunting. Once again, I find myself comparing it unfavorably to Overwatch. I would argue that learning these characters was the fun part, but that's just me. And I mean, I already mentioned it earlier, but I think it's smart for them to have a huge roster from the start, and to think what other characters they could add along with their OP abilities. Like, I need Thanos in this game, and I want his ult to snap half of the lobby back into spawn. And allies could be affected by this. It would be the best RNG gamble ult in the existence of video games. The crazy part is, it wouldn't be surprising if they did do something like this, considering how crazy some of the other characters are. So even though I do agree, it's a lot of characters, I still want there to be more characters because it makes it more fun in my opinion. Moving on. Overwatch launched with 21 heroes, while Rivals stepped out of the gate with 33, just 11 shy of how many Overwatch 2 has now. As it isn't an original universe, it has decades of media to draw from when it comes to its roster, but that also means there's less potential for future editions. Okay, we all know that I don't like Marvel, and I don't like superheroes, so you could infer that I don't follow the Marvel lore, but come on, there's so many characters in the Marvel comics, and ones in the current like MCU or whatever it's called. You're not gonna run out of ideas. We're just lying and we're coping right now. For the first few years of its existence, Overwatch turned each new hero into a legitimate event. You would follow each update and tease with fervent anticipation, waiting to find out exactly what role they might fulfill and what they look like. Meh. Having a backstory for each character, I guess, is needed when they did plan for like a PvE story mode for Overwatch 2. I wonder whatever happened to that though. But now, they don't really care. From my perspective, I feel like they just throw a dart at a map, spin the identity wheel, and make their new character based off of that. And because of that, you get like 2 new characters per year, I think now. But with Marvel Rivals, you don't really need to develop a backstory. You just copy-paste the summarized wiki about them from the comics and into the game. The lore is already there, so you don't need to spend ample amount of time to do all that work. Does it make the game bad? Of course not. It's just a benefit of using an existing brand. That won't happen when Rivals adds Sentry. Every new character was unexpected, but for Rivals, it feels like we are already having to temper our expectations after NetEase jumps the gun on its A-listers. I had to look up Sentry to see what they look like. But you can't also say that you knew Luna Snow and Jeff the Land Shark before Marvel Rivals. They don't need to be well-known characters for people to like them. I'm pretty sure the dumb baby shark has the highest pick rate in the game. Not Captain America, not Thor, not Iron Man, Jeff the Land Shark. People don't need to know the characters to appreciate them or want to play them. The character designs are amazing. It has a cool comic book cel-shaded like art style that's really cool and really unique. The skins, the effects, the feel, everything about each and one of these skins are great. And so when they add Thanos or Blade or whatever, people will go crazy. I mean, people are already going crazy for their Fantastic Four. So it just seems like the author is just out of touch of like the general people's reaction towards these type of things. I could be proven wrong, but right now, I'm not very excited about new heroes to come to Marvel Rivals because we are already dealing with an excessive roster. There's no moderation and a desire to give players a temporary power fantasy instead of easing them into it. This will only hurt the game in the long run, and feeling that way right now isn't a good sign. The moderation is being able to ban characters in higher elo and comp, which I wished Overwatch had. I think being able to ban characters is healthy for the game and to prevent people from being frustrated early. But no, at least as of right now, I do think the game is actually pretty healthy considering that it just launched. Yeah, there's some annoying stuff like Hella 2 tapping, Luna Snow ult spam swap thing, Gamma boosted Iron Man, Jeff ult radius, Moon Knight onks or whatever. But there's also some really cool stuff like being able to shoot through a Doctor Strange portal, swinging as Spider-Man and pulling them off the map, kidnapping tanks as Wolverine or whatever. So similar to Overwatch, it gets really fun when there's so much stuff going on that you don't really know what's happening. And it's so much more chaotic with Marvel Rivals. It achieves this superhero power fantasy so you could recreate, like, I don't know, that scene from like Captain America's Civil War, but 10 times the chaos. I remember around like the first time I started playing Marvel Rivals, I would hear Scarlet Witch ulting and would explode this building in Yggdrasil. That was crazy, and seeing the environment being destroyed really emphasized how strong these characters are, and you don't really see that in any other hero shooter. So it's unfortunate that this particular journalist had a bad experience with the game, but it feels like they wanted this game to be exactly like Overwatch. But the current state of the market wants a game like Overwatch that isn't Overwatch. Weird, I know, but that's how I see Marvel Rivals. Obviously, it's too early to judge on its longevity and its staying power in the market, but all the signs are looking very positive for the game. That seems to be getting better and better each week. Even if you don't like Marvel or superheroes, like I do, I think you will find some sort of enjoyment in this game if hero shooters, or I guess shooter games in general, is your type of thing. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to this video if you enjoyed this video. Comment down below if you enjoyed Marvel Rivals or not. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.